what it says. Okay, here it says we are live, but what does it say on YouTube? Man, I have not done this in a very long time. I just noticed. Good day, Tibbletoe. Oh, wait, no, wait, that's Mark. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, good
Welcome,
day
Mark.
everybody.
We are
Hello,
about
hello.
to
I see
go.
people with dim cameras on. Well, let
Yeah.
me join you in that case.
All right. Well, welcome. Okay, we should be live. We should be having a good connection, and I hope the audience will join us in a bit. But yeah, welcome everyone to the radio.
I'm feeling a very good connection.
Uh, but yeah, welcome everyone to the radio retro future launch party for the TTRPG Nightwatch. I see some people are watching us. Welcome everyone. For those who are just joining us, we are kind of like, well, celebrating the successful funding of Nightwatch on Kickstarter in about 3 hours. Our program for today is pretty simple. We're gonna having a good time with fellow creators and other Kickstarter creators like Matt, Mark, Barlow. Keep is also gonna start with one. Um, let's just start with a real quick introductionary round, like your name and what you do, and then we can go over maybe a little bit about the Kickstarter, what it is about, and then you can tell your own thing. And also, for those who are watching us, we also do have the links to Chapter 9 of the Nightwatch core rulebook, which is about character creation with some character sheets for you to download so you can make your own Nightwatch character. And of course, give feedback on that process if you so want to. So, if you're not that interested in what we're talking about, you can at least enjoy doing that. And with that, I'm just gonna go with the clock. Barlow Keep, could you tell a little bit about who you are and what you are working on at the moment?
Absolutely. So I'm Andrew from Barrel Keep. I am, as I like to say, a software engineer by day and a passionate game master, and as of, well, recently, game designer by night. And I'm working on a modern psychological horror slash thriller TTRPG called Redmark at the moment. I'm a complete noob in designing things for tabletop, but I've been working in video game development for a while, so I am very excited how things from that translate to this hobby, and it's actually everything I want it to be. Like, it's all the fun stuff of game design, but without programming, which makes it much easier to test and work on.
All right, Mark.
Yes. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark, and I'm from The Wanderer Games. I am currently working on a tabletop RPG setting called Lugon for different kinds of systems, a little bit more traditional. So D&D 5e, Pathfinder First Edition and Second Edition. Although I am planning on branching out to my own system, but want to get a little, like a foot in the door, so to speak, first. Also write, like writing my own novels and all that kind of good stuff within the setting. The premise of the setting is simple yet uh, as deep as I want it to be. Basically, Lugon is what happens if you take ecology, evolution, and magic, and then build an entire setting from that root. So every like species, playable race, etc., has an evolutionary background, why they are how they are, and still with that distinct high magic flavor. But does mean that magic is like, well, logical in a sense. Like you can predict a little bit. Me myself, surprise, I am a biologist. Ooh. And I am a teacher by day that loves to bother students with pointless tasks and
All right,
homework
let's move on to
like I do.
Matt.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Matt Knowles. I am one half of Insymmetry Creations. We are comic writers, content creators, metal musicians, panel host MCs at conventions. I know Bonsart from the fact that he does his steampunk titles. We have our main title is a steampunk title called Heirs of Isildur. We've done a lot of shows and cross promotions together. We are currently on Kickstarter with our brand new series, Tatsumi, the Serpent Mistress. We say it's like Pirates of the Caribbean and One Piece meeting your favorite martial arts heroine. So hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I'm super glad to be on here supporting Nightwatch as you've already reached minimum funding on the way to millions and millions of euros.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? All right. And the last one for now, Lilat.
Hello everyone, my name is Lilot. I am working on a diesel punk TTRPG game called Age of Conquest Mercenary. It's set in my own fictional world. Its time period being equivalent to our own 1900s during the First World War.
All right. Yeah, and okay, so we're gonna be talking a little bit more about that later. So first, a little bit about Nightwatch. I guess I just shared the link to Tatsumi in the chat. I will also do the same for Nightwatch. For those just joining us, we currently have 31 backers. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more by the end of the stream. So yeah, well, what can I say about it? For now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about products. But yeah, I do want to attend people to the early birds. Currently, especially early bird number 3, I think it is like super popular. Which has our Value on die set, which is a custom die set, a molten core dice. They look beautiful, and Value on is a particular material, kind of like a crystal used in primarily radios. But again, I don't want to talk too much about my own setting tonight. So if people have questions about that, please be free to ask them. And yeah, it's early bird number 3 is right now the backer favorite. So I might do a kind of like other version of that once this one goes off. And for those who back us the first 38 hours, we also have STLs and physical versions of these dice. These are the Boon dice. Our system is loosely based on the Savage World system, which means you always throw an additional D6. And that's what this could be. And also the Value on die set also has an additional D6 in there. So you already have like enough, if you get that set, you already have enough D6s for the system. But you know, this just feels, it also just feels great to throw and hold these. I highly recommend getting a bunch of them if you get the STL. So what else can I say about it other than, yeah. Everything is now available. We reached our goal in just under 3 hours. And yeah, I'm very happy with that. And we'll see what happens when the rest of the United States gets back from work. And of course, if you have questions, please ask them. And also, if you want to try out the character creation, folks, the links are in the video description. You can download the rules for character creation and the character sheets tonight, and experiment a little bit with that and tell us what you think. So I highly encourage you to do so. Also, backers who pledge more than 125 euros also get early access to the beta rules, so you can give feedback and join our playtest. The first one will be tomorrow night on Wednesday. Where Puppet Master James will go on his spin-off of, oh god, what is that? Mark, you probably might know this movie. A story about a man-eating tiger hunting railroad workers in Africa. I thought, biologist, he must know that story, but no, it's an actual event. Something in the dark.
I'm an entomologist. I do bugs.
Ah,
Not the living kind.
Yeah, no,
The
that is.
computer kind.
Does
No idea.
any of you remember that story about a man-eating tiger attacking railroad workers in Africa, and the hunter who had to go
Search.
after him? Like something in the dark, the hunter in the dark, something like that. But
Let's take a look.
I like
Movie.
when somebody mentions the title, it's just, yes, that's the one. But now
The ghost and the darkness.
yes, the Ghost in the Darkness, that's the one. So our game master has based a story on that, on a campaign that he wants to play on our Discord. So for those who want to join the beta test, yeah, you're welcome to join us. The link is on the Kickstarter page. And with that, who wants to start to talk about their own project for a moment? Otherwise, I'll just go with the clock and I'll give it to Barlow Keep.
Last 3 streams, I was the first one. Well, well, why not? Sure. So I've been working on a game a bit later. Like we met in October last year, right? Where I
So,
got
yeah,
the
Spiel.
the associate.
Oh, yeah, he
guy,
actually got
which
it.
was-
That's right.
Yeah. That's how we met. Who could have seen us and ending up here? So a bit like a month after that, we are a group that plays a bunch of different games. We started with Pathfinder 1, ended up being fairly hooked on Call of Cthulhu. We branched out into other like horror games, and after a while of playing Call of Cthulhu and trying out Cult, we figured out that none of these games really hit the sweet spot for our group. So after a while, we decided to, me and my friend Lazar, he appeared on some of the streams on my channel as well, but we decided to try and make something that we can call our own. So the premise is, as I've said, it's a psychological horror slash thriller, rules lightish game set in the city of Margum in the year 2055. The setting is very inspired by our city where I come from, so Belgrade from Serbia. I think a lot of games that we see on the market today are pretty inspired by, especially if we're talking fantasy, they're inspired by European architecture, and Belgrade looks a bit differently. So we have the communist blocks, we have the traditional architecture, and now, as of, like in the last 10 years, we have a lot of like big glass buildings as a city naturally matures. So we wanted to imagine a world where all of these trends of today are like, what would happen with all the trends in technology and everything 30 years from now, while still really thinking about what the horror aspect of it all is. So a bit about the system. It is a D100 roll under system like Call of Cthulhu, but it's built around 6 skills that you roll whenever uncertainty arises. I have a sample character sheet. This is very early work in progress stuff, so let me just see where the camera is. So on one side we have a column that is representing skills. We have force, move, shape, adapt, control, and sense. And these range from 0 to 100, where most characters cap at around 70. An average person has 13 each skill. And we have aspects that answer the question of, like, in what context are you using these skills? And that's how you boost your roll to have better chances of success. And we have also 6 aspects that are industry, nature, science, society, spiritual, and void. They're basically domains that you can use to like either look at the environment or what you're doing and then boost your roll with that. So for example, if you're cooking, for example, you might do shape plus industry. But if you're using some like scientific equipment or something to do that task, maybe you roll shape plus industry plus science. And well, basically minus, because you're subtracting these things and you're trying to roll below a certain value. So that's the core of the system. Everything else revolves around this. And now I said it's a horror game, so we need to kind of explore what is the scary part of it. And We kind of created a whole philosophy around that. I talked about it on some of my streams. I don't want to go too deep into it, but in a nutshell, we wanted, when we were creating the core skills and aspects, we had one empty space. We couldn't think of the sixth one, so someone said it's like void. It's something that is like empty. And we decided that void is where the human understanding stops. So in a nutshell, void represents the unknowable, and you can kind of look at it as a higher power. It can be God, it can be Cthulhu. It's pretty much up to the GM, and we created a system that through which you kind of build your own higher power so that we can cover different subgenres of horror. And for us, for our home game that we were playing at the time that inspired this system, we used this type of like dark, almost nostalgic thing that we call void. It's very hard to put into words, and when we really tried to like find a definition for the book, we weren't able to, so that's how we got these questions that you answer and you build your own higher power. And some of the questions are really interesting, like, is the void omnipresent? Is it created by humans? Is it affected by human thoughts and emotions? Also, does it know it's in a game book? So,
All right. Hold that thought for a
adjusting
moment.
these-
But before, let me ask, if our fellow game creators want to respond to some of the mechanics that he brought up.
Yeah. So you said you like it was based on a certain other like system, right?
Well, we started by branching out from Cthulhu Eternal, but then at one point, which is like an open source version of Call of Cthulhu, but then at some point we redesigned everything, because Cthulhu is fairly crunchy, and the other game that is based on Powered by the Apocalypse is Two Rules Light, so we wanted something in between, and this is what we came up with.
So like like not too light, like still a decent amount of like crunchiness, but not too much.
Not too much. I would say that because you play as normal, everyday people, you have to fairly strategize to keep yourself alive in this world.
That's indeed fair.
Lila, do you have something you wanted to respond to?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, because more kind of like a contextual observation, there is this kind of like dichotomy between like Western science fiction and would you describe you talked about horror, but would you also consider it to be science fiction in a way?
Well, what we didn't want to do is create something that goes more towards cyberpunk or sci-fi. So if we look at like today's trends, there is AI stuff. You can have like your Roomba is replaced by a Tesla bot that is not much stronger than, I would say, not like a human, like fairly fragile, but you have these microphones, as we call them, which is like the next evolution of a smartphone that is basically an AR lens and something in your ear, and you see some AR things overlaid over the world. But I wouldn't say we have flying cars, and cybernetics are still not something that is...
So it's more Black Mirror-ish.
Very Black Mirror, yes, I would say something like that. I also like to say that it's like Black Mirror and Mr. Robot reimagined through Clive Barker's eyes. So, yeah.
I have a question. Would you also say it's kind of like Love, Death, and Robots in a way?
Well, depends on which episode, yeah.
Yeah, of course. But kind of like that feeling of life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't want to... So our problem with running longer campaigns that are horror and staying with the same characters is that it's very hard to keep the atmosphere in between sessions. So we wanted to do something that naturally flows from horror to like thriller action, so it's normal for you to experience some like atrocities and then have a motorcycle chase on the rooftops and then end up at the dinner table while constantly thinking if reality is gonna collapse around you. What I didn't say about the concept of void, is that regardless of what you choose as your ground truths, it still has a property that it can, as we say, touch certain people or locations. So we really like the feeling of liminal spaces. SCPs are interesting, very interesting, very evocative. So, for example, Infinite IKEA SCP. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
that,
I'm
but
familiar
it's,
with it. Yeah.
Oh yes.
yeah, that's basically a void touch location. So there are also people, if you've read Clive Barker's Damnation game, there is a character that there, the antagonist, Mamulian, who is basically a void touched person. He bends space and time in a certain way, like slightly, just slightly, but it's never explained how he does it, and it's not even clear if that person is aware that they are doing it to their surroundings. So we said, okay, we want to have these void-touched people, one of, just to paint a picture that not all have like spooky abilities. We have the regular Joe character that when he cries in a wheat field, crop circles form overnight, like that sort of thing. Like not very logical, but like interesting, slightly paranormal. Like it confirms all the conspiracy theories in a way. And we didn't want this to be like, okay, we have heroic void touch people and like evil void touch people, and then it's like a superhero villain type of situation. So we said that most of the time players will be experiencing these anomalies through the aftermath that is left behind them. So, for example, a void touch person with a certain gift might be a CEO of a big company because of them leveraging this ability. So maybe the aftermath of what this company is doing is something that the players get entangled in. Of course, Margum is a very nice city, a very modern city on the surface, but as you like pull down the curtains, you see that it's been really struggling with all the progress and the society is rotting in a way. So the players are entangled in all these factions in the bowels of Margum, still trying to balance their normal life and constantly feeling that something is slightly off. That's the feeling that we are going for.
All right, Matt, are you a role player yourself?
So I'm not a role player. I just was messaging Steph. She's at work right now, and I was like, "Man, you would love this stream because she's a D&D player, and she's big into that." So we've talked about trying to take some of our IPs and get them converted over into the gaming space because that's how we kind of design them. But we haven't taken that step just yet because we're just too busy to be able to put the right amount of time into it. You guys are putting a lot of time. You can tell there's a lot of effort there. We don't want to just jump in with the concept of it and create something that is not going to be fully developed enough. So it's good being on a stream with you guys that you can tell have really put a lot of thought and heart and effort into making your world be developed the way that it needs to be.
Right. What stood out to you about what Barlowkeep was just telling us about his game?
I thought it was kind of cool when you were talking about the industry. Your industry can make a difference in what your roles are. I think that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to come on, like this dichotomy between like Eastern European science fiction and Western science fiction is kind of that. There was this whole speculation about what it is. This kind of that a lot of Eastern European fiction is a lot more focused on man versus society. You mentioned like the environment and how like Stalker also has this element a little bit. Like the roadside picnic. Would you agree with that?
Sure. The thing is that we are in a very specific situation because we are Slavic, we are very similar in some sense to Russians, but also we are in Europe, so we had a lot of influence from, for example, Austria. And when we were under Turkish rule for 500 years, I think, and this might be a lie, but the last Turkish occupants went in like 19th century, so we have a lot of overlap with their culture as well. So I think that mix is what makes this really our city really interesting. And we thought like there is no setting that like tries to present that in a way, and we would like to. Now, I would like to play around with a fantasy version of this as well at some point, because this system, we are using it for fantasy game as well. Like,
Oh.
this is a demo character sheet for that as well. But
Nice.
Yeah,
for
because
now,
If you need help or something, let me know.
will do. But for now, we are trying to finish this project, and I can say oh man, it's an undertaking. I completely, like, I thought it's so much less work. Like, you know, you write stuff, you write rules, you add like some tips for the GM guide, and some tables, a sample adventure, and you're pretty much done. But oh man, it's so not true. There is a lot of work to go into this game, and I would say that this game is much simpler in terms of rules than Nightwatch, for example. So still, you're trying constantly to get your rules tuned into something that will make the whole vibe and the setting come to the front.
yeah, and let's talk about Nightwatch a little bit, because you did a video review on it. It's actually on the Kickstarter page for people who want to see that review. So you can check out his opinion on like an early, well, almost alpha version of the game.
Very early.
Very early. So what makes Nightwatch, you think, different from most RPGs that are currently on the market?
Well, my opinion is that, first of all, I am completely blown away with how much you have on the world. That is one thing. Like, I know some people that are really into, like, digging deep into the lore, and you have a ton of it, and you have books behind it, and I think that is phenomenal. And you know that my my favorite thing with Nightwatch is when it comes to the mechanics, are the fortune cards.
Yeah.
I've gone through the hassle of cutting each and every one by hand just before the session, and I think that's very cool.
Yeah, so those fortune cards are for sale on the Kickstarter as well. I highly recommend getting some sets. Some of them, some of the tiers already have the basic set. The VIPs will get the hazardous environment ones, and there's also a Nictolar one that also has a lot more original art in there. So I highly recommend you get those. Maybe I'll make a separate add-on that combines them all. Because they're pretty ignored at the moment. But yeah, like one of my favorite
Don't ignore
systems.
the fortune cards, people.
Yeah.
You will get misfortune because you missed the
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna. No. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite mechanics for Nightwatch is actually has become the project system. We are using that a lot now in our games.
Oh yeah, that is something that came out, I think, a bit after we played it last time.
Yeah, I did not include that in the alpha. Yeah, but that's a system that we started using because when I first made it, I thought, yeah, it's nice and all, and it's useful and practical. But now we're using it a lot because guys are working on an engine for a week, and then the scouts are gonna scout, and the hunters are gonna hunt and track and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, well, what might my character do over the course of days when characters are working on their engine, and how else can I make myself useful? Oh, I can scout out the area. Oh, I can look for hidden entrances. Oh, I can gather information. And yeah, we are starting to really use that liberally for, well, everything really. But yeah, so we talked about RPGs for a moment. So let's go to Matt to kind of have a bit of a mix up in topics. So tell us a little bit about your current, well, Kickstarter, I suppose.
Yeah. So Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress #1 is a brand new comic-based series that we're writing. For those that are familiar with the writings that we have, Heirs of Isildur is our apocalyptic sci-fi story set in a steampunk world. This is the area where Bonsard and us have linked in before. In Heirs of Isildur, there is a clock and watchmaker who accidentally comes across this set of portals, or set of machines that opens up portals that starts bringing people from other eras to him. And there's an apocalyptic event that happens where these machines start to go crazy, and one of them ends up pulling a a Japanese warrior named Kido through a portal. He becomes part of the Heirs of Isildur story. We did a one-shot graphic novel that's fantasy horror called I Am Kido that chronicles all of his time in the Yamaran Empire before he gets called through the portal. With I Am Kido, we tried to present it as if Kido was the last surviving person from that empire. There's a rogue group thing like vampires, zombies that are crushing across the continent and taking everybody that they can for food to suck their souls out for their own survival. We find out at the end of I Am Kido that another person from the empire named Tatsumi has also survived, and we get to follow her story. We're super excited about this because even though this is set in the fictional Far East, Tatsumi realizes that this force has come through. They've wiped out the entire empire that she's a part of. She knows she can't deal with this on her own, so she finds a little fishing boat and goes out into what's called the Serpent Sea. They believe that the seas near their kingdom are protected by these sea serpents. They can't go in, you can't go out. She's like, I'd rather take my chances with the serpents than with these, vampiric forces. And we get to start the story there, where she ends up getting picked up by a pirate ship called the Side Stalker. And so we get to take this fictional Far East story and move it into the pirate realm and into a swashbuckling high seas adventure. This is the first issue. We're probably going to have 5 in this series. We have got 9 days left. We just crossed minimum funding Sunday, and we have a couple of stretch goals upcoming. We have some super cool stuff that we do in there for those that are physical type backers. We've got variant covers and metal covers. We've got shirts. We've got custom socks that we do. We have leather workers that do keychains. They do D&D dice pouches for us. They do pirate hats for us. We have a couple of other super cool things we're going to be adding in. We have poker chips. For those of you on the other side of the pond, which I believe most everybody in here is, we make sure there are digital and MP3 versions of everything we do. I'm also a metal musician, so there are metal music songs. There's all kinds of things that we add in there as well to add to the aura and to the vibe. If you want to check out the campaign, you can go to tinyurl.com/Tatsumi, TATSUMI.
Yep, it's in the chat as well.
Yes.
And we've got a couple of viewers right now. Please tell us who you are, where you're from, and if you have backed Nightwatch. And if so, please let us know, what are you most looking forward to. And of course, be free to ask our guests any questions. Also, we got a new backer in the meantime. Thank you very much. So we'll see if we can cross the 4,000 during the stream. That would be great. Any of the other guests have some questions for Matt about his amazing comic?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you might turn it into a tabletop game in the future.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions about taking some of our titles into that realm. The biggest thing for us is we want to make sure that if we go that direction, that everything is thought out. Heirs of Isildur is something that people have told us a lot should be in that realm. Tales from Nocturnia is medieval fantasy. And we always say that we want to create characters you can relate to and universes you want to escape into. That's our mantra at Symmetry Creations. And how better to escape into a universe than to have a game associated with it.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely.
And TTRPG space is by far the best space to do that.
And definitely.
Because if you need assistance or help, like what I've gathered from my years of trying to do stuff, help is not far away ever.
Yeah,
No.
for sure.
We know the things that we are well versed in and the things that we are experts in, and we sure as heck know the things that we are not. So if it ever goes into the gaming space, it's probably going to be a partnership with someone else or some kind of working collaboration to make it actually make sense in that environment for certain.
All right. We already plugged the Kickstarter in the chat. So guys, go look that up. Go send some love their way. And yeah, with that, like, let's go to the next guest. Well, no, one last question from Matt. What are your hopes from Nightwatch or the Association of Ishtar overall? What do you look forward to?
So here's the thing I look forward to. One, I know this is going to sound cheesy, but I like you as a person, as a fellow creator, and appreciate. I remember before you even started the game. That's how far we go back,
Yep.
and it's really neat to be able to see the idea that you had as the Association of Ishtar turned into the game. And I just want to be able to see you be able to make as much off of this campaign so that you can do all the things you want to do. You can get the right amounts of purchases of items in bulk. You can be able to make your expansions. You can be able to do the things you want to do. That's what I want to see for you. Not anything specific to the game, but specific to you as a creator, and just so you can feel good about the worldwide reception to what you're doing.
Right. Well, I appreciate it. So let's go to who wants to go first? Mark or Lilat?
But
I can go.
Okay, I think I heard Lilat. So let's go to him and yeah, let's talk a little bit about your Dieselpunk game.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm gonna post some pictures in the chat. Bon, I'm wondering, can you show these off to people?
I
while
can
talk?
show these off the moment I can log into another screen because but I'm working on it. But yeah, go ahead and I'll see if I can grab them. I'm working on it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm working on a Dieselpunk tabletop RPG game. It's set in my own world. I have been working on this project for probably over 12 years now in many different forms. Just about a year ago, I decided to take this into the tabletop RPG direction. I have a good team behind me. I have 3D artists, 2D artists, writers. I have a ton of play testers. Playtesting is going well. Our core rules is shaping up to be a wonderful system. We primarily use D6s only. We have skills and sub-skills. Everybody is a mercenary, and everybody is very specialized. This game is all about specialization and coming together as a mercenary team to solve different problems, whether that be on the battlefield or like in a city. The way that the game is laid out is that you have a campaign, and that campaign is broken up into different missions. Those different missions could vary from assaulting a armored train, or stealing some intel from a base, or destroying this critical piece of infrastructure for this army. Whatever you're hired to do, if you choose to go on that mission, you get to go. I think that's a good way to allow freedom for the players and the campaign organizer, so that they can pretty much build out whatever they want within the Dieselpunk genre. I have my own set of lore, but my hope is with these rules, you are able to take this and you are able to apply it to some of the other settings like Bioshock, Iron Harvest, Arcane, or Trench Crusade. So I'm kind of using my lore as a way to give examples, and if people are interested, I also have a lore example where people can really dive into that world. But for those people that are not interested in my lore, they can hopefully take this system and apply it to someplace else. Because my whole goal here is to take Dieselpunk and just expand the genre out. Because I think it's a very, very cool genre. It's just right now it's super niche.
It's really niche, yeah. Like I tried like googling like Dieselpunk on Amazon. There's nothing. So yeah. But what are the mechanics similar to in relation to RPGs?
So similar mechanics. It's a dice game. Primarily using D6s, you have a character sheet. We try to distance ourselves from D20 systems and what 5e does, just because we're not really doing fantasy. You can be a dwarf or an elf if you want to, but the primary focus is on the humans. So this system is more similar to like the Word of Darkness series of books with the storyteller system, like Vampire the Masquerade or Hunter the Reckoning. Um, we take a lot of inspiration from that because even though Diesel Punk is focused on the two world wars and the interwar period, we focus more on the human side of the First World War. Just the pointless fighting, like why are we even here? The feeling of dread, all that stuff. Most of the time, in most scenarios, you do not even want to do combat. The only thing that matters is you completing your objective and getting paid. So even though that this game will feature combat heavily, it may not always be the best solution to just go straight into combat. You kind of have to recon out the area, plan out your attacks, and quickly take out an enemy and just move on to complete your objective. If you see like a giant mech and you do not have the power to deal with that mech, it might be optimal to just go around it and avoid it. Or, better yet, call in artillery or send a signal so that the main army could deal with it.
All
My
right.
hope is for all these different missions, we have many different solutions to solve different problems with your team's skill set.
So you mentioned missions a lot. Is it very mission oriented, the gameplay, or how do I imagine that?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
pretty much as a campaign organizer, which is what we call the game master, you make a series of missions for your players to go on. And you can make as many as you want, and they just follow simple objectives. For example, blow up this armored train, or steal this piece of intel, kill this high person in power, whatever, you know. It could be numerous of things.
So do
And
some
your
of the
job,
other creators have some questions about that?
How crunchy would you say the role system is, and does it have some parallels with wargaming, or is it strictly just a TTRPG?
it has a little parallels with wargaming. It's not too crunchy yet. We're just now developing combat. Our skill system is pretty robust. Not too complicated. Combat is going to get a little bit more complicated, but it's going to be very lethal. My hope and intention for the game system is that, although combat is like pretty lethal, like that's going to be like the challenge of the game. Is not to like always roll into combat, because I feel like that's something that D&D 5e does a lot, and that's like kind of the solution for everything that had was just going into combat, defeat bad guy, get treasure. You know. I hope
Right.
like this game is more on like the problem solving side, which kind of
Yeah,
happens a lot in war too.
Yeah, we try
Mark,
to
are
do
you?
the same thing with the Red Mark. Well, it's something like this is right up my group's alley. So if you need playtesters at any point, feel free to ping me.
Yes, of course. I'll actually put a Discord link in the chat for anyone that does want to join.
Yeah, send me the link. I can share it in the chat. Yeah. Mark, do you have some questions?
Oof. Do have to admit that it's not my expertise. Uh,
Very niche.
but sorry.
The genre is very
Yeah.
niche.
Yeah. Although, like I am quite a big fan of like having a modern-ish setting and putting like a little bit more of a the punk style feel to it. But like like as what was being said just now, it is indeed kind of niche. And Dieselpunk isn't really anything I've looked at before, but this does get me interested. Um, what I am, you said that like everybody was very specialized, every character.
Hmm.
How does that um, come to play in the game? How do you notice? Like if I'm playing a
All right.
party, so how do I
Mhm.
notice that everybody is specialized?
So we have our class system, our skill system, and our equipment system to kind of push people into the direction of specialization. And how we achieve that is by making all the classes feel unique to a certain playstyle, and then we break down those classes into subclasses. So, for example, I have my veteran class. The veteran class, you can kind of think of it as like the 5v fighter. This is what we kind of balance everything off of. This is your jack of all trades type class. Um, it could be very good to start out with this class because you can go into many different things without um, fully like committing. But we also have subclasses for each class. And right now we have 8 classes and then an additional 3 classes for each of those classes. So for veteran, we have rifleman. As the rifleman, you are really, really good at being a rifleman, and that's kind of your thing. But you also have the shock trooper. Shock troopers, they kind of specialize in like flamethrowers, shock weapons, like lightning guns, that sort of thing. And then you also have other classes to distinguish themselves, like you have a sniper class, you have a tank class that uses like exosuits, you have a commando style class that is similar to the veteran, but it's more melee focus. Um, you also have like an assassin type class if you want to be super sneaky. And
I got
our
one question.
skills and sub. Mhm.
Oh, sorry, that one question that jumps out, if I may. The
Yes.
specializations that you now like name are all combat oriented, and you did say that you hoped that like the general gameplay loop steered away from too much combat. So am I right to assume that
Yes.
everybody also has like those classes also have like plenty of out of combat unique filling, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so our combat system is actually separate from our roleplay system to kind of distinguish those two like different things. Um, we have a lot of skills and sub skills. So when you're making your character, you really have to like pick and choose what you want to be good at. Because your character, just the way how character creation works right now, is going to be really good at like a couple things, and like that's it. You're going to have to rely on your teammates to kind of help you along to fill in the gaps. All because you're a certain class doesn't mean you lock into like one playstyle. That's why we have subclasses to kind of break up that variation. Like one of my favorite combinations is being like a commando, but instead of um, being a commando with like a trench club, you actually have grenades, and now you're a grenadier. So even though commandos theoretically should be like pretty quiet and sneaky, um, now you're just a screaming commando with a bunch of grenades, and you don't care about being sneaky. You just care about killing groups of enemies as fast as possible as you just sling grenades all over.
I now see Pyro for Team Fortress 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also
Um,
have that type of subclass too with our
yeah.
shock trooper.
Yeah, Matt, do you have any experience with the diesel punk genre? Any opinions on it?
You know, I was actually going to ask a couple of questions there. So one, so with diesel punk, I know you said when you went onto Amazon, you don't see anything diesel punk. I think that's kind of like, I think of steampunk in the general sense is kind of like metal music, where everybody will say, hey, that's heavy metal. and every kind of metal music can fall under that giant umbrella, but thrash metal is not, speed metal is not, pop metal is
Yeah.
not, death metal. And I think that when you go to a place like Amazon, any kind of asterisk punk is going to be under the steampunk banner to the general public.
Yeah, actually, I made several videos on this about diesel punk, and and surprisingly, it became some of one of my better watched videos are about diesel punk. But like how I kind of like I eventually I made 3 videos where my thoughts on it kind of like gradually change. So it's kind of interesting. If you watch those 3 videos, you see my entire thought patterns on it like kind of morph into until I kind of come to a conclusion like, okay, this is what separates diesel punk from steampunk. Like, because like you mentioned it, I consider diesel punk to be a subset of steampunk in many ways. It's one of the reasons why I waited so long with making a video on diesel punk, because I could not make the distinction. Um, but like eventually, I came down to that diesel punk is essentially Star Wars in the past. If and for context for my viewers who never watched my videos before, I kind of like define steampunk as cyberpunk in the past, and then diesel punk is like a bit more specific is Star Wars in the past, because it has a lot more dichotomy between good and evil. And then also, if you look at the design in stuff that's considered diesel punk, you've got like one side, the good guys have like the round shapes, kind of like the rebels in Star Wars, and then you've got the bad guys who have like all these angular shapes, like the Empire in Star Wars. And that is very specific. That's why the American GI and the German soldier are such a great narrative device, because the Germans have like all these angular shapes in their weapons and designs, and the American GIs have like all these round shapes in their design, which makes them like round makes things gentler, while angular shapes make things more hostile. That's why evil characters often have so many spikes and stuff, and like the neutral or good guys don't. That's the reason for it, and that's something that's highly used in diesel punk esque aesthetics.
So my question here about diesel punk then, when it comes to your game, do you feel like when you say you're marketing it as a diesel punk game, are you somebody that is like really into, because there are people that are apologists of it, and it's like if you step outside of the genre at all, they're going to come after you and be like, well, that's not diesel punk, that's atom punk, or that is, whatever this is, or that. Are you hoping to cater to that group of people, or are you like, my game is diesel punk in style, but you still have your own rules that you're going to apply?
Well, let me rephrase that question, Matt. Let me rephrase that question. This is important for everyone who's here. Lilat, and all the other guests who are sitting here right now. I want you to think about this question. Who is your super fan? Is that fair, Matt?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lilat.
So, my super fan. The super fans are those that are heavily invested into the lore of my setting. Diesel punk is just the general term that we have for the technology level. Because the way that I distinguish the different punk genres is their technology, right? So steampunk is typically more the 1800s. The point where I draw the line is when the 1900s hit, when, the diesel engine just got made, and now it's becoming more prevalent in technology, with like Ford motors, tanks, planes, the invention of like the diesel engine, higher levels of technology, the different tactics of World War One. That's where like I distinguish the difference between steampunk and diesel punk. Because if you try to take steampunk tech and have it go against diesel punk technology will destroy it. And you saw this as our own history. when the French tried to use 18th century tactics against the Germans, the beginning of the war, they came marching down with brightly colored uniforms. They had big giant cavalry charges, large rifles, and the Germans just brought out the brand new machine guns, and they killed something like 100,000 French soldiers the opening weeks of the war. And that's when the whole world knew that the technology level is different. We are now dealing with something that is like completely horrifying, which is like the mass killing of people in scales that we have never seen before. So you have all these old generals from the 18th century. They can't comprehend these new technologies. They don't know how to use them in warfare, and that caused like a lot of mistakes during World War One, and just a lot of like unnecessary loss of life. So that's kind of where I make the distinction between like steampunk and dieselpunk. Is that they're turning into the new century, you know?
The other question I had for you was, you said that you were just developing the combat mechanisms. How far away do you think you are from the point of where you're like, I'm going to go launch a Kickstarter to be able to actually put this game out there? Because obviously, if you're just getting to the mechanics of it now, you were probably pretty far into the line of development before you can get to that point. What is your hope to be able to bring it out there to the market?
So, probably within like 6 months to a year, we're actually very close to completing the core rules. That combat system is kind of like that last piece. But what we want is we want more marketing material, and that's just due to the nicheness of the genre of diesel punk. I need to produce a lot of art, and I need to have my team stay focused, and we need to create a lot of content for people that don't understand what diesel punk is. And that's going to be our main challenge. Not necessarily like getting a product out with the core rules. It's going to be just conveying what this world is like and like how it is, you know. I think the art will like draw in a lot of people once we start making more of it.
I think
That's
so
great.
too. Like, if you look at Trench Crusade, I know it reached a lot of people that are not into wargaming just because of the art and the lore. So, 100%, and the art that you have sent in the chat, it's really cool. It's really evocative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where like I already shared the Discord in the chat for the people who want to join us. An update on the Kickstarter. We are now at 39 and 13 euros on the Kickstarter, so we're nearly at the 4,000. So just one more backer. So if anyone in the chat wants to pledge, this would be a great time to do it because reasons. Some closing thoughts, Lilet, before we move on to Mark.
Bon, I just want to say for your game, I'm very excited to see where it heads. I hope that your community grows because I see um, it as if your community grows, then anybody who's working in like the steampunk and like diesel punk area, we're all going to benefit from it, you know? Because that just means more people into the space.
Oh,
So I
definitely.
really hope you are very successful.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the hope that we can at least like with Barlow Keep. You mentioned like Serbian history. And I do want to have like gather writers from various parts of the world and kind of like make alternate histories of their parts of the world. And of course the Balkans, because it was a powder keg in that era. It's very interesting to see what we can do with that. And I have this idea that there's going to be a very quasi World War One situation where there is this massive tension that leads to another huge conflict. Because then, of course, it's gonna be in the Balkans, right? It's almost inevitable.
There is always a big conflict here. The last 30 years have been the most peaceful, like, forever.
Yeah.
If you look, even before the world wars, we constantly had wars here. So
Yeah. So no, I definitely want to see if we can like do something and maybe like have a flat tapish, kind of like a flat tapish stand in return, but then fighting cultists and maybe have the Mamelukes get their day in the sun where they become like this new anti-rift fighting force instead. That type of stuff. I hope to work on that with other creators. Maybe Mark and I can have a little talk about it at the end. But first, Mark, let's talk about your projects. What are you working on?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm feeling kind of jealous of all of you at the moment because I'm just a small kid. I am so yeah, I am working on like my own high fantasy project to give a little bit of a contrast to the things that have already been mentioned. Like I've been writing this for the past uh, 7 years, I believe. Started as a book draft and then changed it into a homebrew game. And at some point, my players forced me to, hey, this is cool, this is epic, you should do something about it, get off your bloody ass. So I did. Kickstarted it, learned how to try and like make a Kickstarter work, etc. And here we are, one successful Kickstarter later. Um, so yeah, I am in the like basically the infancy of what I am trying to make. So if any of you got tips, please give me. Um,
Definitely help out.
so basically, what Lugon is like I said before, a high fantasy setting, but with a more how do you call it scientific approach. Magic is not used to do the unimaginable, but instead used to amplify the imaginable, if that makes sense. Um, to Because what people often forget, and what I, as a biologist, don't want people to forget, is that there is an intense amount of weird stuff already in the natural world. Like crazy things. I mean, look, you've got lightning monsters, like in fantasy. I mean, we've got fish that will zap a couple of thousand volts through you if you touch them. I mean, uh. So what Lugon is, to like hijack that example a bit, is I've got a creature called a Lararn that is a mix between a large uh, canine and a big cat. It has like flowing manes, and there's a kind of silvery metallic. So you know what happens with hair if you move a lot and like rub it against metal a little bit? What happens? What happens with your hair?
They become
Somebody
static.
take a
Yeah,
count.
yeah.
Exactly, they become static. So if you then touch somebody, they get a shock. Lugon says, okay, let's add magic. So magic doesn't create an entirely different effect, it amplifies that static. So now you get a big cat, wolf kind of thing, like intense, like glowing, flowing manes that actually delivers bites and shocks their prey, kills them with electric shocks, but has to move around, build up that static before it can attack again, for example. And those kind of things are also present in all like the playable races. There are no elves, no dwarves, no orcs. Humans there are because well we exist, so we make sense. At least I think I make sense. I don't know about you guys. So you've got your humans, and the rest of the 10 species and races are all entirely unique and based on theories about okay, how would humanoids evolve in different environments, and how would they evolve further if magic would speed up and amplify uh, evolution and allow maybe traits to mix. So then you get your humanoids that have also got insectoid features or aquatic features, etc. And well, uh, as far as the world goes, I might have overdone it a bit. I've kickstarted the player codex, which has player classes, um, both for like remember 5e, Pathfinder 2e both, and 1e for the old school people out there. Classes, races, factions, an entire new alchemy system because alchemy is fun, and I think it's very meh that 5e doesn't have alchemy, so let's bloody fix that. Um, and something I like to call the boon system. The boon system is basically a way to upgrade your character without being decked out in 1,000 magical items. That's one of my other pet peeves, like for like the more crunchy systems. For example, you have three kind of boons: alchemical, competence, and magic. Those all work in different ways that you can obtain them. Competence is you actually training. Like you get a skill manual, or you just like train under a master, that kind of thing. You get a competence boon. You get a nice little effect, and you get a bonus from that. Alchemy is, shortly put, your super soldier serum. You take, you from buying a potion at a skilled alchemist to, hey, what is this strange sludge that is in an ancient dungeon? Let's gobble it up, because players also like to do that somehow. I have no idea why, but they can also get bonuses or, benefits and negatives at the same time, because that makes them interesting, downsides and upsides. Like they can get like flavor enhancements from that, and also like a nice little boost. And finally, magical boons. They are more like, okay, convince that creature to help you. Instead of just going murder hobo, talk with them. See if you can get them to help you. And like they can grant you a boon, some creatures, if they're like strong or special enough. And, make you stronger. So yeah, like also do stop me if I'm going too in depth, because I have talked for like multiple hours at once. I do see a lot of nice pictures. Do you mind me to post a couple of like races there?
Oh yeah, please do. Yeah, sure.
Because I it's such good art. I like it a lot. Let's see, artwork. Let's start with a Cloudus. This is one of the species or races you can play as, for example, that has evolved in a magic-rich environment, and then in a mangrove forest environment. So it's beneficial to get airborne, be able to move in water, so you get a kind of more uh, like amphibious vehicle kind of race. You can do a little bit of everything. They're not flying as well as some of the other races, but they can manage. Also, for the 5e players among us, flying has been rebalanced for these races. They start off with gliding, and the flying upgrades over time. So, no no headaches in that regard. Or well, less effort. Let's take a look. This is one of the primordial races, so one without magic, like basically this settings version of a dwarf that is a lom. But what I was most curious about with dwarves, that why don't they live high up in the mountains, yet they don't have fur on their extremities. Where does the most heat escape? Their extremities. My solution is that the lom, for example, have furred arms and legs, and are, overall a bit hairy. They also have like a culture with like a lot of, they're a little bit more charismatic, militaristic in nature, and they have these different kinds of beads in their hair that you can see. and that indicates what they have done in their life. Like a different type of bead indicates a different accomplishment. And so they can see at a glance what kind of person they have in front of them. So yeah, any questions? Any things you guys want to ask? Before I just rut.
I myself, I'm dabbling in divergent evolution, as I was trying to show off. I was looking for the Lemurian in particular, any of the guests want to respond to the divergent evolutionary thing in D&D? Are any of our other guests D&D players at this time?
I'm a Pathfinder player. I, curiously enough, never played 5e, but I have a ton of hours in Pathfinder 1 specifically. Now I'm trying to get more into Pathfinder 2. The remaster edition got me into it. Here.
Fair enough.
But Pathfinder 1 is, yeah, that's my first game, and I've just been crazy about it.
I can imagine. Pathfinder is good. Some people don't like the crunch.
I know. I mean, I am at the end of the day working on a rules light game, but I do like to come back to the crunch.
Well, like I said before, disclaimer, I like collabing like a whole bunch. I also wrote a couple of different books that are system agnostic with a guy called Stefan from Fey Games about it's called Fabled Battles and Warfare. That is this one here. That is about actually making large-scale combat in a fantasy or even medieval setting easier. So you get an army and you change to a hex grid. You actually just go and do army versus army combat for an evening, and then you pop out again instead of headache, so many units that a lot of people experience. So I am like digging collaboration. So like if you want like a crunchy system and don't mind a fantasy vibe, hit me.
Yeah, on a side note, the idea behind Nightwatch is that it's also kind of like we try to optimize it for bigger combat as well, while not making it take hours on end to do so. Yeah. So we've got very quick combat, and it's kind of like, especially if you're starting to work with automated weapons, you can do large combats very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is also interesting, by the way, like it might seem that Lugon doesn't have much in common with steampunk. However, like I like steampunk as a concept a lot. So there is also a Lugon leans heavily on 4 different forces that have like an axis. Not good, evil, lawful, and chaos, but instead of good and evil, it's destruction, creation, order, chaos. Neither are bad, neither are good. Everything is neutral. And originally, you had this entire this catastrophe in the setting that is called the saturation. After the saturation, the entire world became, well, literally saturated with magic. Like a big ocean of magic formed at its center, and it actually threw everything off, because large quantities of magic is poisonous to life. Think radiation, but then in semi-liquid form, semi-gaseous form. You can actually see it on like the Lugon world map as well. I got it right here. Yeah, here we go. No, computer. That is not what I asked. Okay. Listen up.
Yeah. Well, as you described the relationship about magic, it kind of reminds me of the background lore of Shadowrun and adjacent titles with the 6th world and the 5th world. Any
Nice.
Any similarities?
Any inspiration?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't played Shadowrun all that much, so any similarity is either subconscious or semi-coincidental, to be entirely honest. I put like I get inspiration from a lot of sources. Mythology, like from all over the world. I've actually incorporated Dutch mythology, like the British Isles, Germanic, Far East, African, etc. Like I pick like everything, like flavor-wise, see what kind of options would make sense if you bring them down to their core, and then build something up from that. So that's how I use, for example, real-life mythology. Um, so yeah, so it's same with these like this axis. Like you have, like I put in like I took inspiration from like the classic good, evil, lawful chaos, but like good and evil I don't like. So basically, what my axis is about, like creation, destruction, law, and chaos, is the four forces you need to maintain a world: to create what isn't there, to destroy what is too much, to keep what needs to be kept, and to change what needs changed. If all of these are in balance, you have a functioning setting. Because you need things to stay the same, you need things to change, you need things to be destroyed, you need things to be created.
All right.
And that's also where the magic system jumps off, because four casting classes: one chaos, one order, one destruction, one creation. So that's also like all new magic systems and such, that all have their own ways to get past that saturation problem. Because how magic works is you channel the magic around you to take it into your soul, and by your will, it comes out on the other side in a certain form. You physically need to take in the magic around you. Dead magic zones, for example, are very logical. Then there's just no magic in the air around you, there's nothing to take in. But after the saturation, if you are not careful, you automatically take in too much magic.
All right.
Meaning you kind of implode your own soul.
Oh,
Congratulations, you are now dead.
yeah. Okay. So let's go to some closing thoughts. Does anyone else have questions for Mark?
Give it to me.
At the moment.
Yeah, I have one. With your magic, is there also ways to like harness it with an inanimate object to kind of store that magic and use it as a power source?
Yeah, it certainly is. Even different ways, because, well, like you even have creatures that are formed of this raw magic stuff. Like I won't go into the creation myth of the entire setting, but basically everything sprang from magic. There are creatures in the Night of Life, that is where the magic is strongest, nothing can live, that are basically blobs of magic, beings, elementals, they're classified as, that are made of liquid magic and can also, in theory, be harnessed for example, energy. There are quite a bunch of ways to actually store and use energy. However, it is always dangerous, because there is so much magic, there's always the chance that it might end catastrophically. Also, that's also part of some of the classes. Order, for example, can actually take pieces of, like non-lethal pieces of somebody's soul, use them as a power source to power up their spells.
All right. I saw Matt also move at the moment. You have a question?
So I have a question that's an in general that can start pretty much for any of you guys. So I know in music writing and in comics, this is viewed one way, but for you guys, how often do you look at other people's games, like even those on the panel, and go, that's very similar to something I do? Is it something where it's okay for you to have elements of your game, or you can have an element that's exactly the same across your games? Or are there certain things that you're like, okay, it's okay for things to be similar from here down, but if it's from here up, then it becomes plagiarism?
Can I answer this question?
Oh, of course.
So, I would say that in terms of this hobby, because we are working with, and especially because we are working with mechanics and building a world most of the time, I would say that we all cook with the same ingredients at the end of the day. We know what's tried and tested, we know what works, what invokes certain emotions. So we are cooking with the same ingredients, but two chefs are never gonna come up with the exact same meal, even like to the like atomic bomb level.
Each
So
have their signature, right?
I think Redmark, for example, has something in common with Heart City Beneath, and that is our aspect system is there called domains. We figured out that it is similar, but we employ it in a different way, in a different setting. It's a completely different effect that we get from that. Also, one of the people from my audience is working on a game called Biomancer, and we also saw domains as aspects there, but it's a completely different take on it. You're like in a symbiotic relationship with another parasite and you're living like that. So I would say that when it becomes plagiarism is even harder when you talk about fantasy, especially if you're going into D&D Pathfinder type of fantasy, because a lot of things there you don't want to change, like consciously figure out that you don't want to change them because that is something that is a pillar of stability for new people coming in.
Well, I mean, when people talk about my game, like Savage Worlds, it's gonna come up, right? Like even I mentioned it on my Kickstarter page. Like, oh, it's kind of like loosely inspired by Savage Worlds. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just add to that, yeah, it's very common actually for games to just recycle an open source system. So you have, I might be wrong about this, but I see a lot of parallels between Delta Green and Cthulhu Eternal. Cthulhu Eternal is a modified Cthulhu system that is pretty open source, but it's stripped of all the trademarked stuff. And you can use that to build your own game and then market that game and release that game as if it was your own, but you give some credits to the system. Also, Blades in the Dark allows their system powered by darkness. You would see a little label on their games. On other games that use the system, powered by the Apocalypse is also one that is pretty common for, and it's very rules light, and you would see a ton of systems just start to use this. So it is common for games to take the mechanics of a game that is providing the license and then build on top of it, change it slightly, tweak some things for your setting, and then release it as a finished product.
I mean, also look at deck building games, you know, like and how similar all of those are. Like they all have like the auction kind system and like how you play them and build your deck. But they all like have like this one innovation, you know, that makes it separate from that. Yeah. But like I want to do my deck building game eventually as well. Of the Casket Girls, probably where we combine like tactical board game with deck building. That's kind of like what I kind of mentioning in my head right now. How it's gonna work, I have no idea yet. But like recently I played like June Uprising, which is kind of similar. It's more of a resource game that combines it with deck building. But, you know, and like, yeah, the deck building is very, if you played one deck building, you almost played them all. But, like, they all have, like, this one unique thing. And I think for players, that's very reassuring. Because, you know, when you buy a deck builder, you know what you're in for. And you immediately recognize, like, elements from other games. But they all, like, have their own little innovation there that makes it different. So, yeah. Does that answer your question, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess it's similar to like if you have the Unreal Engine in a video game, and you know you're going to build your video game with the Unreal Engine, but it better not look like Unreal. It better be its own thing. So I totally get where you guys are coming from for sure.
Yeah. I mean, video games, you also see a lot of mechanics like being copy pasted from things that came before. Like once BioShock came out, like how many games copied the things from BioShock almost to a T.
Dark Souls. How many games are now? There is a genre called Souls-like.
Yeah.
Well, mechanics usually can't be patented in a way. That's something that companies,
That's
only
also
Nintendo
true.
tries
Game
to do.
mechanics cannot be patented.
Only
Yeah.
Nintendo tries to do.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think D
Nintendo
and
holds a
D
patent
tried
for
to.
like
Wizards of the Coast
small.
tried to do it with their license, but that I think that was rebuked.
But they tried to copyright everything. They tried
Yeah.
to literally like own the beholder and like everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
think they
well, I
fucked it
mean,
up,
Games
right?
Workshop is
They
even
don't
worse,
anymore.
but yeah, let's not get started on them. But yeah, gentlemen, we're almost like 19 minutes in, and I am quite honest, pretty tired. So I wanna end up with like some wishes for Nightwatch to bring the to bring the thing up, and then we can yeah, maybe we can do another stream at some point if we're like, oh, we want to discuss this topic further. But yeah, let's go there. Let's start with Mark. Well, because we've talked about this a little bit, that we may do a collaboration. Well, what would you hope that Nightwatch is going to do in the future?
Well, what I do hope, like, I very much like the core principles that you like put in place with your system. Plus, you know, I'm a huge world building geek. You've made a very, very nice world, and what I would like to see is it being like expanded on more, and you know, maybe also combine the steampunk, like sometime in the future, with I'm a biologist. You all see this coming, like with more of the natural world and such.
Yeah. I mean, I already shared the Lemurian, which is like what if lemurs developed into more humanoids?
Hell yeah, biopunk.
So we are all like I definitely want to talk with you about divergent evolution. We've got some other people on the Discord as well. What I also want to talk a little bit about, we have social stretch goals, people. They're really down below among the other stretch goals. Go check them out. If those get fulfilled, it means more stuff for everyone. Which is like either YouTube subscribers, Ream followers, but also if you've got 5 short stories, I'll turn that into an ebook. So I have not really set a deadline yet, but it's probably gonna be the current development cycle I have in mind is that we start playtesting with the 150 plus euro backers in 2 weeks. You'll be informed of that by due time, of course. And we've also got a playtest tomorrow for those just joining us. So if you are not yet on our Discord, join that so you can receive the notifications. Also, all other notifications, except if we've been funded, I'll probably post that to Kickstarter tomorrow. I will not post any further updates on the Kickstarter. Our reasons for that, I will not get into that. But if you want updates, join the Discord or join our newsletter. So that's that. But yeah, also look at the stretch goals and what's there. Also, we're nearly at 4,000 euros, just 80 euros more. So yeah, I'm very curious where I will be when I wake up tomorrow morning. Hopefully I'll be able to sleep for a change. That'd be
Hey,
great.
you know that what's gonna happen is that some like Joker is going to back for like 79 euros, right? You know it's
Oh.
gonna happen. Like it's gonna end up on 3,999. Then you
Oh.
wake up and you're like, ah, somebody did that to me.
Well,
Like, they
as long
stopped
he does
at
not retract that
5,999.
pledge, I'm happy with that amount. So yeah, there's that. Let's see what else. So yeah, one of the stretch goals is submit your short stories. Other is take a photo with an AOI book in a steampunk costume. What other social stretch goals did I include down there? Ream followers, YouTube followers. And yeah, readings of AOI short stories or book chapters will also result in 2 additional short stories. So, hey, if you guys are dry on content, do that. Um, and yeah, so go check those out. They're near the bottom among with the other stretch goals. So go check that out. Um, and yeah, but yeah, as well, once the community starts becoming more active on Discord, I also hope to do more writing courses where I'll coach people on how to write the short stories that I used as foundation for the entire thing. For those who don't know the project, like I started with a lot of short stories, some of which made it into the bigger books, others have not, but they might make it into the role-playing game at some point. And one of the stretch goals is also the declassifieds, which will include like stuff that I cut from the core rulebook. Because believe it or not, a lot of people thought there was too much content in the original version, so I cut a lot of options. But they might make it back in that stretch goal, which I think is 10,000, if I recall correctly. Which also will include monsters and basic enemies. And maybe some people can come up with their own monsters in the meantime, if they so wish. We could also put all of that stuff in. That's what it's for. So yeah, that's about it. I think that's enough rambling from me. Barlow Keep, what are your wishes?
This might be a bit of a stretch, but I can see this branching out into other subgenres of tabletop easily. You mentioned playing cards
We are also
and deck
working on a
builder.
board game. I cannot say too much
Board
about it,
game?
but we are with another company working on a board game. So
At one
expect.
point,
So yeah, and I'm talking with people. I'm talking with people. So yeah,
it
but
would be interesting to see with the Casket Girls and all the forces. Maybe something like a skirmish game could be an interesting thing to see in this setting. If you're not familiar, skirmish games are like a very rules light version of,
Mordheim,
well, mostly rules.
Necromunda, Trench Crusade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I'm also working with a Dungeon Mouse. We already have
Mhm.
miniatures, including
Yeah, yeah,
mechs. So, including Chevaudan, which is the main mech from the Casket Girls. So, yeah, and we are definitely going to make more models. I'm very far of the next Casket Girl book as well, which also introduces a new mech. So yeah, no, but that's definitely and
with
again,
existing
hey, if you want to
miniatures.
work, with that, we can have the discussion at a later date. So
For sure. I've been playtesting something that's not out yet. A fellow creator is working, that is also working with Rudehammer. They're working on their own skirmish game. I don't know where it is right now, but at one point I was playtesting that for them. So, yeah, sure.
all
It was
right,
more based on Frostgrave, though.
I'm open to ideas. So yeah, no, let's have that discussion at a later day. Lilet, any wishes for Nightwatch?
Yeah, just like kind of mentioned earlier, I really just hope that you expand the genre out for steampunk and you invite many new people into this crazy world that you have developed. I hope it comes big and popular.
Yeah, well, so do I. I am in the market for a video editor right now, so I can like increase the frequency of our lore videos. We have a lore video series on Radio Retro Future, and it is my hope that other people will also start writing stuff. Maybe we can do like a video on the divergent evolution, like the Lemurians or some other divergent biological race, and make that a video about that and like what the stuff they're up to, or make a more general thing about like how weird beasts are interacting with the world. Just throwing some ideas out there, but it's definitely something we can do. Um,
like I said, you're in the right space. So
Yeah.
if you need help,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to it.
Let's brainstorm at some later date on that. Okay. Finally, Matt, what are your hopes? You already mentioned a little bit about about me, but
Alright, so
like there must be
here's
something
my
you were looking for, like a
here's
soundtrack
something here's
for the
something I
world.
think would be cool. Here's something I think would be cool. Obviously, this is not the short-term goal, but in the long term, in the U.S., a lot of your comic book stores now are mostly, I would say, they're like 75% gaming, 25% comic stores, and most of them, like my LCS here, has got gaming 4, 5, 6 different rooms that they do, and it's almost always going. I would love to be able to take a walk into the store one day and look on the shelf and see Nightwatch on the shelf and know there's going to be a group in the back playing your game. That would be a long-term goal. That'd be cool.
Well, if you walk into a store, and because we are working with global distributors, say, hey, can you order like Nightwatch, or hey, would you be interested in stocking some Nightwatch books in the future? We have a retail tier, by the way, that store owners can pledge on. So, guys, spread the word. Tell your retailers, like, hey, there's this new role playing game on the market. Spread the word. Tell your retailers about it. And yeah, well, this is. Oh, by the way, final sales pitch. This is the prototype. I ordered way too many of these. So,
I saw them in person.
yeah, yeah. So please, you can order them. I mean, they're purely collectibles. Although you can play the alpha version of the game. Some guys already said I want one. But yeah, please do order them. So I am not getting stuck with them in the long run. So yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, there's more than one reason. It wasn't just hubris. There was emergency. Like the story behind it is that like someone was supposed to do the layout for this, and that person was doing it. Okay, for anyone who knows anything about layouts, this guy was intending to do it in Photoshop. I don't know if any of you have any experience with Photoshop and
Why
doing
Photoshop?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, he was
look,
trying to do it in
I've got
Photoshop. So, okay, no, I'm gonna do this in InDesign. I did this like in 48 hours. Okay? Like, I barely slept to get this done. And, but yeah, so I ordered with 2 different parties to make sure I got something, with, with, for Spiel to present. So that's the story behind this book and why I got so many of them. I ordered 2 sets from 2 different publishers, so I was sure I had them in time. And now
Believe
I'm
it
stuck
or not, that happened to me as well. I just released something like a demo of the game, like a vertical slice of the game. We call it the Red Mark Initiation. I actually have it printed right here.
Oh,
It's more
nice.
like a cheat sheet type of thing with some illustrations
It looks
and
great,
flowcharts.
though. Yeah.
And yeah, I had a bunch of people bail out on me when it came to layouts. So I know only Photoshop, and I learned all the reasons why you don't do it in Photoshop for this.
For
Yeah.
this reason. Oh,
Yeah.
for you. Damn.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the story behind this. And yeah, they're like, I think, 20 euros in the add-on section. So if you want one, be free to get one. Let me go back to the score. I just realized, okay, well, the pledge have not changed. We'll see what happens in the morning when I wake up, where we are yet. But we will. I'm sure this by the morning I'll have a new record set on Kickstarter stuff. And that said, yeah. Like I posted all the links to your content. Send me the links, your links again, in later. Then I'll include it in a comment under this video, so people know how to find your stuff. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here and then sharing this moment of euphoria with me. Well, mostly relief. to be honest. That's what I'm mostly feeling right now. But yeah, let's continue this conversation at some other time. Talk about like your project, my project, and maybe potential collaborations. Okay, and oh yeah, thank you, Tidiva Ellie, if I am pronouncing that right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for your message. And again, guys, also check out the early birds. They're the most interesting thing, especially early bird number 3 is super popular right now. That's definitely the backer's favorite. And for those who already backed, like, thank you for helping us reach our goal the first 3 hours. Okay, the Wanderer Games also shared his Discord in our chat. I will post that later in the comment section. So yeah, and if you've got questions, the Discord is the best place to ask those. The Discord is linked on the Kickstarter page as well. And yeah, I guess that's it for now. Again, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Good luck on your own projects. And as always, make things your way, guys.